Today's webinar will be recorded, and all of the registered attendees will receive a copy of the slides and a link to the recording. The recording will be available on our website, free to the public. Today's presentation is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy, and without further ado, next slide. Today, we're going to be hearing about the Arkansas Weatherization Braiding Project. This is a project, next slide. This is a project put together through a very effective collaboration between the utility company Entergy of Arkansas, the Arkansas Energy Office, Better Community Development, which is a weatherization subgrantee, and ICF, an implementer, a consulting firm that implements the program. So we're going to hear from each of the presenters in order. I would ask that everybody hold your questions until the end. We do have time built in for question and answer. If you have a question that you think needs to be answered immediately, you can post it into the chat. We'll try to keep track of that for you. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Heather Hendrickson with Entergy.
You're on mute, Heather.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, thank you so much for having us all come to talk about our braiding project that we've worked so hard for the past couple of years. We're just going to take you through the agenda, through the overview of how we, what the project is, how we got started, and some of those include the challenges and solutions that we were able to come up with, and the results, and we'll end with a fabulous customer testimonial. All right, so the Arkansas Weatherization Braiding Project is essentially how 3 organizations came together to really help our shared customers. We had a shared goal to help those in low-income households become more comfortable, safe, energy efficient, and we all found that we were serving the same customers, and so it just made a lot of sense. All right, so the 3 different organizations that are doing this braiding project is Entergy Arkansas, and that's who I work for. It is the local utility, electric utility. We offer a low-income energy efficiency program. We partnered with the Arkansas Energy Office, who administers the WAP, the Weatherization Assistance Program. And we also partnered with the Better Community Development, Inc., which is also a community-based organization who provides WAP services for Arkansas Energy Office as well as Entergy Arkansas. So you can kind of look at the slide and see how the folks that administer the program, those that are serving, boots on the ground, implementation piece of it. But at the heart of it all is energy efficiency, and that's where our goal is here for our customers. And so I just kind of want to take you through a fun little timeline, just kind of show you the evolution of energy efficiency in Arkansas. So in 1976, of course, we had the WAP program. 1981, the Better Community Development was founded in Little Rock, and it was a community development corporation. 2007, Entergy created its first energy efficiency program. It was kind of the quick start. That was the birth of the energy efficiency through the electric utilities. And then 2015, the BCD, also Better Community Development, and the Arkansas Energy Office joined together, and they are now a weatherization provider in 2015. And then in 2017, this is instrumental for Arkansas, legislation was passed, Act 1102, that allows independent utilities to provide low-income energy efficiency programs. And then in 2020, we launched our first low-income program, energy efficiency program, through the utility, and we partnered with the Arkansas Energy Office and BCD. All right, so who's Entergy Arkansas? We're the largest electric provider in the state. We provide service to over 728,000 customers. We serve 63 out of 75 counties in the state. Back in 2007, when we first started up, we began in kind of a quick start mode. We only had a single family residence type program. It was meant to offset the cost of any kind of energy audit and certain measures and provide those to our customers. And as the program matured, we and the commission started helping us decide kind of what those core weatherization measures were. We incorporated that into our programs. We created more programs such as manufactured homes, multifamily, and now we have the low-income programs. And so all of those go together. We make sure that we do the core weatherization programs. We try to offset those costs for the customers. And so that made a lot of sense when we started the low-income program to partner with Arkansas Energy Office and the BCD. And so in 2017, like I said earlier, that's when we were allowed to be able to do these programs for income qualified customers. And so that's essentially when we brought on ICF to implement the low income program. So they implement our residential programs for us, the boots on the ground. And try to pull through here. So from that, I'm going to pass it on over to Kay Joyner with the Arkansas Energy Office.
Thank you, Heather. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to the Arkansas Energy Office. We are part of the much larger Arkansas Department of Energy and Environment, which has other energy efficiency programs in it. So we feel like we have a good home here. We've been part of the department since 2019 when there was a reorganization of state government. The Arkansas Energy Office manages several programs in addition to the Weatherization Assistance Program. We acquired LIHEAP, which I'm sure you all are familiar with, the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program in 2019. When this reorganization occurred, that program came to the Energy Office. We also now have the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program, LIHEAP, that is a new program that we acquired last year. And then the state energy programs are administered through the Energy Office as well. Prior to weatherization being part of the Energy Office, the Arkansas Department of Human Services had the program. It was transferred by legislation in 2013 to us, the AEO. And so we've had it now for 10 years. We are divided into 5 different segments of the state for the purposes of implementing the weatherization program. We have 5 subgrantees, 4 of which are community action agencies, and 1 of which is a nonprofit housing corporation. Our funding, as probably you know, comes from the Department of Energy, and as well as some funding from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The LIHEAP program shares 15% of its funding with weatherization. We are building back up since the pandemic, when our production was around 500. We are building back up to over 600, which is our normal production on an annual basis with the DOE and LIHEAP funds. I wanted to point out that number 5 on the map is the area that Better Community Development serves. They're 5th on the list, but they're not last in our program that is served by Better Community Development, who joined our program network in 2015. And I want to introduce you now to Daryl Swinton, who is the Director of Housing and Economic Development. And as such, he is head of our head of our subgrantee weatherization program. So Daryl.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Daryl Swinton with Better Community Development here in Little Rock, Arkansas. We are a 501c3 faith-based organization that was established in collaboration with Terrestrial United Methodist Church in 1981. Right around 2000, we actually, our organization got into housing development. And since then, we developed single family, multifamily houses for persons in the state of Arkansas. And as mentioned, in 2015, we had the great opportunity to participate in the weatherization program. Once introduced with the program, we felt it complemented what we did on a day-to-day basis. It met our mission as far as improving the quality of life of low-income, underserved, disadvantaged individuals for the state. And we felt it was just a great fit for our organization and complemented, as I mentioned, what we do in housing. As Kay mentioned, we're one of 5 organizations. When we started, it was 6, but we one of 5 community-based organizations that implement the weatherization program for the state of Arkansas. We're the only organization that actually does multifamily housing weatherization as well. And that was when we originally got started. That's how we came in and got involved in doing we were a pilot project doing multifamily housing weatherization in the state of Arkansas. As mentioned also, we have 14 counties in the southeast corner of Arkansas, which is better known as the Great Delta. We are providing services in those counties, both multifamily and single family. So thanks for the opportunity to be in here today. Thanks, Amy, for allowing us to be here, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Thank you, Daryl. I just would like to ask a clarifying question as the moderator. So it sounds like BCD is wearing multiple hats as a weatherization subgrantee. You're the subgrantee for that particular service territory. You are the subgrantee that handles multifamily work for the entire state. And then how do those two things interact with your service territory for the Entergy work? Do you do the Entergy statewide or only in certain parts of the state?
Well, we do the energy, the areas that energy basically covers. So as on the map earlier, you see energy covers over 2/3 of the state of Arkansas. So whenever there's any projects that we can collaborate and braid funds between the state funds and the energy funds, we include those projects with the energy project.
Okay. Good. Well, that's why we invited you to speak today, because clearly you've got a very good system going. So go ahead.
Next, I'm going to introduce Terry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Kessinger with ICF. We're the Entergy Arkansas Program Implementation Partner, as Heather mentioned. I wanted to talk about getting started. I know oftentimes people gloss over this, but you all know the momentum that is needed in order to take different groups with different focuses and try to figure out where they align and how we can do something a little different, but within all of the rules and guidelines of everyone is a tough, it takes some time to do that. We kind of broke the implementation into first the program launch, where the Low-Income Solutions Program, it targets the hard to reach customers. From there, we reached out to both the Arkansas Energy Office and BCD in early 2020 to try to figure out where we have shared goals, which was one of the key purposes in our first meetings. And then from the first meeting, we moved on to regular monthly meetings, and now we set up on quarterly. But to talk about those getting those first meetings done, if we'll move to the next slide. Scheduling meetings, everyone's calendars anymore are just packed. But I think that was one of the very biggest hurdles to overcome until we established a regular cadence of meetings and got onto everyone's calendars. So it did take quite a while to establish a date and a time that worked for everyone, and even a day of the week. So that would be my recommendation when you start out, find out what days are no-goes for people, and then work through their calendars and schedules. In that first meeting and several meetings, monthly meetings thereafter, we tried to talk through the different program designs, with the Weatherization Assistance Program having the federal guidelines on what needed to be done or how it should be done and reported, versus the Arkansas Public Service Commission has a different set of metrics, reporting guidelines, and how savings are calculated and how things should be done. So then looking at those regulatory guidelines from two different very strict organizations that require reporting to be done in a certain way, trying to understand where can we align, where can we not align, and just don't even go there, right, Daryl? On that, that took several months of just talking and understanding and trying to figure out where it worked best. And then further on, some challenges with some BCD in the next slide. We had identified both administrative burdens of reporting one job to two different regulatory guidelines, and then also the staff training on, this is how you do this according to this program. This is how you do it according to the other. So, our initial concerns, the two very different systems, invoicing, how that's done. And Daryl, why don't you speak to kind of how we worked through it?
Yeah, for us, though, we had, of course, with the weatherization program, we had our set system and software that we had to use for audit purposes as towards inputting the households and getting clarification and documentation of the units being qualified. So that was one system that we already had in place. My staff was used to using it, and we just was something we did, we were as part of it when we first started. So we were comfortable with that. The biggest challenge for us was getting staff to understand that, okay, that there's another process, there's another system as well that we have to use within low-income solutions, and inputting that information in there as well. And so once we were able to learn the program and work through those things, that made it a little bit easier. Now, one big plus that did help is that the low-income solutions staff, they really helped us on the admin side as it relates to our billing and entering the projects. That's something that they took upon themselves as well to do. So that was a plus for me and my team, because that was one less step that we had to do. And then, of course, administratively with our billing department and our financing, it was a matter of, okay, this is another vendor that we have to bill, and how do we separate the funds and layer that out. But once we got to the point of, where it was standard and everybody understood it, it made it a lot simpler. And, it's just a matter of, a lot of times when change comes, and we're used to doing certain things certain way, we don't want to implement the changes. But it was a way that we felt that we could not only, one, utilize the resources from another source to give us more funds that we can use in weatherization to help more families and more households. So that was the key portion of it. And then also the state encouraged us to leverage funds and braid funds as well, because once we were able to do that, we could move other households up the priority list as well. So there were challenges, and but we worked through those. This is, we do on a day-to-day basis.
Great, thank you, Daryl. Then after we kind of looked at challenges and solutions, how to overcome them, let's go ahead and talk about the results from this successful partnership. Through the collaboration, looking at the different program measures, one of the things that we were concerned about was, different requirements for the same measure by the Entergy office, by the WAP program, and by the Low-Income Solutions program. And then also we didn't want to double count savings, to count it for the federal program and state program, or to count it for the energy program. So we came a great solution that, makes a lot of sense after you think through it, but it took a while for us to get there. Was we identified different measures that would be reported for the low-income solutions, and other measures that would be reported through the weatherization assistance program. That way, each program claimed 100% of the energy savings for those particular measures. I think that also helped, didn't it, Daryl, in training so that your team knew, okay, I don't have to submit or enter attic insulation twice into 2 different systems. And so we feel like that from an accountability and from a verification standpoint, by splitting up the measures and counting 100% of those measures for the programs was actually the easiest way, and the easiest way to make sure we avoided double counting.
Yeah, I would say that's correct. I mean, there are certain measures that's covered under the low-income solutions that's not covered under weatherization and vice versa. So we decided to utilize those measures that we could actually provide for under the low-income solutions and bill those items under that particular pot of funds as opposed to using the weatherization funds.
Yes. And moving on to slide, the typical contributions, the Entergy Solutions program for single family and manufactured homes contributed about $1,600 for every program, while through weatherization assistance, the contribution was $5,939. For the multifamily apartments, the Low-Income Solutions program contributed on an average $964, with the weatherization program contributing to about $7,420. Here again, customers got a broader spectrum of measures that, especially from the Low-Income Solutions program, there were a lot of measures that were offered through weatherization assistance. So it enabled us to actually perform some of those measures. And then the braiding funds. Daryl, would you like to talk about the cost accounting? That was part of the fund.
Yes. So basically what you see here is basically one of our billing invoices as it relates to billing a particular unit. It talks about the cost, and as I mentioned, about the measures that are being paid for under low-income solutions, and we just break those out and allocate those dollars based off the particular program, whether it's energy low-income solutions or the weatherization program, and that's just basically one of our standard invoices as we relate and how we bill those projects.
But that keeps you from having to do 2 separate invoices.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Okay, and I think this is me here. So basically, as you can see, our braiding the funds and the number of homes served. As mentioned, the unfortunate part about this, when we started planning this, nobody thought about COVID. So we had all these ideas and thoughts on how we were going to implement it, and then COVID hit. We just kind of had to pivot as it relates to how we implemented the program, because during that time, as a lot of people, we wasn't going into many houses, so the numbers wasn't as high when we initially got started. But I think that's a good thing. One thing when we first got into affordable housing, one of our goals was, my goal was, let's build 100 units in this community. And, Reverend Robinson, who was our executive director, he was like, well, before we build 100, we got to build 1. So let's start with 1 first and let's go from there. And so that's how we sort of implemented this program. And I think it worked out well because, though we weren't able to produce the number of units that we wanted initially, we were able to get started, to get tested and get it going. In 2021, we produced we did over 33 units under the Low-Income Solutions project, and it's about 50% of those units were used where we braided funds. So we did up close to 70-some units that year. In 2022, the numbers dropped as far as the number of percentage to 37%, but that's primarily because we did a lot of multifamily units. And the multifamily units, you get those numbers in bulk as compared to the single family units. So we were able to still utilize the braided funds in 37.5% of our projects that we developed in 2022. And we see this year coming up, we've already know that those numbers are gonna increase as well, because we're doing more projects and now that things are more open and we're able to get things done. We're anticipating this number to be as well, and we're looking to have another successful year also.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for sharing that. And we'll end with a customer testimonial of one of our favorite little videos we've done, but this is Miss Mary Lowe, and she was one of our recipients of our braided project that we've been doing with the state and BCD. So please enjoy.
You know, the house was built in 2000, hasn't had any maintenance, so I know I'm losing air pressure somewhere. So, you know, I was like, Lord, I'm on a fixed income. This stuff needs to be fixed. They came, and within a week, they were done. So they airtight sealed it up. He said, we got installation for you too. I'm like, oh God, there is a God, thank you. It has saved me a lot of money. It really has. So from $400 this time last year, and my bill, I got it the other day, it's I think it was like $107. So yeah, big difference. Big difference. Yes. And it's comfortable. It's very comfortable inside. I'm loving it. That's all I can tell you. I'm loving it. I just can't say enough about the program. It's wonderful.
Great. Well, did you have a slide after that, or was that the end?
That was the end of ours. So if we want to go to questions.
Whoops. Sorry about that. So I think we can open it up for questions. If anyone in the audience has a question, I have a couple that occurred to me while I was listening to you. With all of the great work that, you had a slide that listed the measures that were funded through your program and through the traditional weatherization program. I was wondering if you could talk about the degree to which you were able to expand the services offered to the homes that you did weatherize. So are you using the Entergy funds to reach homes that would have had to be deferred under the weatherization program, or are you reaching homes that didn't qualify for weatherization at all? Or how are you using those dollars to impact the number of homes or the number of measures?
Well, from our side, so with the measures that are offered, those are measures that's already offered through the weatherization program. But what basically it does is we have another source of funds that we pay for those. Therefore, we don't have to use the weatherization dollars, and we can do more units of those.
Okay,
So,
and then
go ahead.
Daryl, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Is there anything you can do to improve your sound? Now you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
That's
Is that
better,
better?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So basically what I was saying is that so the measures that we use the low-income solution dollars for, those same measures are available, or the eligible expenses that we can use weatherization dollars for. But because we're able to break those funds, there's less dollars that we have to pull from the weatherization. Therefore, we can use those dollars to do more units.
Okay, so do you spend all of your weatherization dollars?
Yes, we do.
Okay, the reason I ask is because in some states, or at least in some parts of some states, they are concerned about being able to spend the amount of money that they have. And so I was wondering if that was an issue with the added money that you had, but it sounds like you're using it to supplement. So you're able to spend all of your DOE weatherization funds and can keep on going, right?
Correct.
And then we had a question that came in as a direct message to me from the audience. Can you list what what measures low-income solutions provides? And I think you had a slide earlier in the presentation that listed which things were accounted for under weatherization and which things were accounted for under the LIS program. Do you have any content that shows all the the list of things that low-income solutions can provide. I know in some states, the utility programs have like a technical resource manual that gives a big dictionary of everything possible under the sun.
Terry, you're on mute. But yes, we do have a
course.
technical reference manual.
Yes, part of the issue, while there are every measure under the sun with the technical resource manual, there are accounting rules that each measure has to pass cost effectiveness tests. So while there might be available dozens of other measures for the Entergy program, they didn't pass cost effectiveness tests, such as HVAC replacement. So if Heather, or April, could you flip back to that measures list slide?
Slide 17. Go back
20.
or 20.
Right. You can see from this slide, the core measures offered by the Low-Income Solutions Program are attic insulation, duct sealing, air sealing, also air conditioner tune-ups, which aren't listed there, are the primary measures, plus the direct install measures for lighting, high efficiency shower heads, advanced power strips are the primary measures.
And then my question about, I guess I'm really showing what a weatherization nerd I am if I say that this is my favorite slide of the entire presentation. I'm curious to know how this list was developed, right? So you must have had some stakeholder meetings where you decided which things low-income solutions would cover and which things would be billed or accounted for or covered under the weatherization program. And I'm interested in finding out how you decided that low-income solutions would cover insulation as opposed to weatherization. Is that something, and also is that a decision that was made by state level stakeholders, or was that made in one-on-one negotiations with Better Community Development?
Heather, do you want to take this one, or do you want me to?
I think we could tag team it.
Okay.
There was definitely a lot of collaboration. There's cost effectiveness testing. So, the state goes with SIR. We actually go with the California Standard Practice Manuals on the utility side. And so, whichever one, is most cost effective, that's going to make more sense to go to the various programs, right? And so at this juncture, when we looked at the different the incentive levels that you could get and the savings from that, this is how it kind of broke out so that it was cost effective for both parties.
And Amy, whenever you ask about the stakeholders, that was part of that getting started process where it took us several months, and the stakeholders were the Arkansas Energy Office, BCD, and the Entergy Low-Income Solutions team. So that's where just looking back and forth on what made sense for all parties, economic sense, and then also from BCD sense, what made the most sense for them, where it wouldn't be an undue burden as far as administration.
Okay, and then
also as well as we inputted the house information into the two different units. Mechanisms of software. So that was the audit software.
Okay. And then we had a question in the Q&A. Does the reimbursement from ICF cover admin and other indirect costs?
Yes. Go ahead, Daryl.
Yes, there is some reimbursement for admin and other costs as well.
That's good.
But it's not a separate line item.
Yeah, as I said, it's not separated out on the invoices as such. It's built in.
So is it built into each measure? Because I'm assuming that you're billing for each measure on each job or invoicing.
It's, I think we look at it holistically because all of the Entergy Solutions programs are delivered by a trade ally network, regardless of whether it's the Low-Income Solutions program or the manufactured homes program. And so the costs that we pay per kilowatt hour for the savings, it's the management administration for those trade allies that is built into the price that covered that we pay per kilowatt hour. And we have about 35 trade allies across the state.
Okay. And how many other programs does Entergy have? Sounds like you have a number, you have kind of a portfolio.
We do. We have a commercial and residential portfolio. So for the residential, we have manufactured homes, multifamily, home energy solutions, which is geared towards the single family residents. And then we have the low income solutions. Then we also have another one that is called Smart Direct Load Control. And so it's one where we provide things such as smart thermostats for a demand response program that they can put into the homes. And then for residential as well, we have one that's called point of purchase solutions. So we discount prices within, retail stores so that customers can buy discounted energy efficiency products. But that's the part that serves our residential sector. And then we have a whole nother section of the commercial.
Does this project have a sunset date or an expiration date? I know it was developed through a proceeding either with the legislature or the Public Utilities Commission, right? Does it have a timetable, or does it go on forever?
So the way Arkansas does their energy efficiency programs, the utilities, it runs on 3-year cycles, and we get commission approval every 3 years. And so we just got approved for another, so we're on a bridge year this year, and then we start a new triennial next year.
And so it's definitely a success if you're getting approved and you're doing it again and again. Do you have any statistics on unmet need in Arkansas? Because I mean, I'm sure that every state has unmet need, but in some places it's more, it's deeper or broader than others. So what would be your goals for the coming 3-year cycle?
Funny you asked that. We are actually working on a potential study right now with the Arkansas Public Service Commission to kind of get a better view of what the state is in need of, because our programs are pretty mature right now, and we've been going at this since 2007, of course, and have developed more and more programs and have hit more and more customers. And so we need to, make sure that we're still doing, providing the right programs with the right measures. And so right now, the commission just approved a potential study, so that should go on the next year or so, and we should find out a lot more. We'll have a lot more clarity as to what those programs maybe need to address.
Yeah, because of course the hot topic in the weatherization world is deferrals. And so I was wondering if there's any hope of running a program that would be specifically targeted at deferrals. In other words, the homes that need more work than what weatherization or supplemental programs can provide.
Are you looking at that from a utility sponsored program or from the weatherization assistance? I understand with the IRA funding coming up.
Yeah. Well, I guess that would be a question targeted more at someone from the state office or for BCD. Just wondering what you're like, how many deferrals do you typically encounter at the local level, and at the state level, is anybody looking at doing a braided program that would somehow address deferrals? That's just a question for our national audience because it's a hot topic everywhere.
Well, I can speak from the Energy Office perspective. We, as you mentioned, it's a hot topic, and this is the first year we have received funding from the Department of Energy to specifically address deferred houses. It's called the Weatherization Readiness Fund. And so we have that DOE funding. We've also created a similar approach with our LIHEAP funds, with which we, regularly get that 15%. And we have created on the LIHEAP side the same readiness type of fund, so that if the house is being done with LIHEAP funds, there's no problem, because they can do the same thing to get a deferred home ready for weatherization as they can on the DOE side. So
Mm.
It has been a year. In fact, we had a pilot project that BCD participated in using our LIHEAP funds before we even got the DOE Weatherization Readiness Fund. So it's been a priority for Arkansas Weatherization for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and I would say from the weatherization side, that program really has helped with our deferral list. Of course, it helps families out that, that want to, the services that we're able to provide, but due to, roof replacement or floor cracks or electrical items, we have to defer them. But the pilot program that Kay mentioned, we were able to do that this past in the summer of 2022. And it was an effective program. I can't give you the number of units that we were actually able to serve, but it definitely helped, and it was a resource that allowed us to be able to help more families also.
Very exciting. Then we have another question in the Q&A. Are there Entergy LIS projects that are not coordinating with weatherization? How do you avoid serving, if so, how do you avoid serving WAP eligible homes that might get more for free from WAP or that already received WAP services? That might be a question for Terry.
And let's see, with, we have pre-inspections of the homes, and if there's already, existing ceiling insulation above a certain level, customers, there's criteria for to be met, baseline criteria. And so if the homes have already received services under the Weatherization Assistance Program, they more than likely would not qualify to participate in the Low-Income Solutions Program. There again, given the number of and measures such as water heater replacement, HVAC replacement that the Weatherization Assistance Program offers, it could be very likely that someone could participate in the Low-Income Solutions Program and also participate in the Weatherization Assistance. But as Daryl had mentioned earlier, that just means that the Weatherization Assistance Program didn't have to expend those funds on attic insulation or air sealing and can use it for other items.
That's wonderful. So is there anyone else in the audience that has a question maybe that you'd like to come on camera and ask? Or I don't see anything else in the chat. I think that our presenters did a really good job today putting a lot of information into the slides. So I do look forward to sharing the slides with everybody. Everyone's always interested in the details of how a program like this gets put together and rolled out. So I think I would congratulate all of our presenters on running such an effective program, and thank you for your time and sharing all of these details. Thank you for putting up the closing slide with contact information. So if anyone has a question later that you want to ask, feel free to email the presenters or email me and I'll connect you with folks. This is certainly a model that probably could be replicated in other states if it's not, if there isn't already something happening like that. Entergy has service territory in about 3 or 4 surrounding states. Am I correct? Entergy goes.
Yes, we have for Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. Mississippi mirrors what we do here quite a bit.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. That's always exciting to know that that's happening, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So when we think that there's no leveraging happening in a certain part of the country, sometimes we find out that there is. So I'm encouraged to know that Entergy is a good utility partner like that. I guess if we don't have any other questions from the audience, I will go ahead and release everybody. And thank you for your time. And as I said, if you joined late or if you have any questions that come up later, I'll be circulating the slides and a link to the recording to everybody who registered. So everything will be publicly available on our website after that as well. Thank you to all of our presenters and attendees. Have a good day.